Did you know that one Supreme Court case drastically altered the course of American education and society? This case, known as Brown v. Board of Education, sparked controversy and debate across the nation. Prior to this, societal norms upheld racial segregation as a standard practice, even extending to the education system. Students were separated based on the color of their skin, creating a deeply divided educational landscape. Imagine a time when racial segregation, even in schools, was considered normal. Before we delve into the case, it's crucial to understand the socio-political climate of the time. Let's wind the clock back to the late 19th and early 20th century, to a period marked by the notorious Jim Crow laws. These laws, enacted in the southern states of America, enforced racial segregation under the guise of separate but equal. This was a time when racial discrimination was not just socially accepted, but legally enforced. These laws touched every aspect of life, and education was no exception. Schools were segregated, with separate institutions for black and white students. This was not a simple case of separate but equal. The schools for black children were often underfunded, understaffed, and poorly equipped. The inequality was stark and pervasive, a clear violation of the very essence of equal. This was more than just a matter of separate facilities. This segregation fostered a deeply ingrained sense of inferiority among black children, a psychological scar that hindered their motivation to learn. This was not merely a claim, but a fact presented in psychological findings during the Brown v. Board case, stating, "A sense of inferiority affects the motivation of a child to learn." But the seeds of segregation went deeper than just schools. They permeated every aspect of society, from public transportation to restrooms, restaurants to theaters. It was a systemic issue, deeply ingrained in the fabric of American society. However, by the mid-20th century, the winds of change were starting to blow. A growing civil rights movement began to challenge these discriminatory laws and practices. Among these challenges was a legal battle that would become a landmark case in American history: Brown v. Board of Education. This was the grim reality that led to the Brown v. Board of Education case. A reality that was about to be challenged, a reality that was about to change. But before we delve into the case itself, it's important to understand the context in which it arose. For it is only by understanding the past that we can truly appreciate the significance of this monumental decision. A young girl's struggle against racial discrimination laid the foundation for a fight for equality. In the heart of Topeka, Kansas, a young African-American girl named Linda Brown became the face of a landmark case that would forever alter the course of American education. Linda had to walk a considerable distance, crossing dangerous railroad tracks just to reach her segregated school, despite a white school being much closer to her home. This was the reality of the separate but equal doctrine, a policy that was anything but equal. Linda's father, Oliver Brown, refused to accept this blatant injustice. He, along with 12 other parents, decided to take a stand. They became the plaintiffs in a lawsuit against the Board of Education of Topeka, challenging the constitutionality of segregation in public schools. They were ordinary parents, but their extraordinary courage made them pioneers in the fight for racial equality. These lawsuits were not isolated incidents. Across the country, in states like South Carolina, Virginia, and Delaware, black parents were filing similar lawsuits. They were all united by a common cause: to secure a better future for their children. Their fight was not just against segregation, but against the systemic racism that was deeply rooted in American society. At the heart of their argument was a simple, powerful truth: that segregation was more than just a physical separation. It was an institutionalized form of racial discrimination that deprived black children of equal educational opportunities. This was a bold assertion, one that directly challenged the status quo. Their legal challenge was not an easy one. They faced fierce opposition, both inside and outside the courtroom, but they held firm in their conviction, undeterred by the obstacles in their path. Their resilience and determination were testaments to their unwavering commitment to the cause of racial equality. These parents, these ordinary people, initiated a legal battle that would eventually reach the highest court in the land. They dared to challenge a deeply entrenched system of racial segregation, setting into motion a series of events that would culminate in one of the most significant Supreme Court decisions in American history. Their courage set the stage for a monumental legal battle. At the forefront of this battle was an exemplary lawyer, Thurgood Marshall. An eloquent advocate and a determined litigator, Marshall was a beacon of hope in the fight against racial segregation. He was not just a lawyer but a pioneer, carving a path towards equality through the thickets of deeply entrenched prejudice. Marshall, a graduate of Howard University Law School, had a long-standing relationship with the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, or NAACP. He served as their chief counsel, leading the legal charge against segregation. His mission was clear and unwavering: to dismantle the systemic racism embedded in the American legal system. The battle was uphill, but Marshall was undeterred. He fought case after case, challenging the status quo and pushing for the recognition of equal rights for all, irrespective of race. When the Brown v. Board case came before him, he saw it as an opportunity to tackle segregation head-on. His argument was firmly rooted in the 14th Amendment of the United States Constitution. This amendment promises equal protection under the law to all citizens. Yet, segregation in schools was a glaring violation of this constitutional guarantee. Marshall argued that segregating schools based on race created an inherent inequality, detrimental to black children's educational opportunities and their sense of self-worth. Marshall's strategy was to highlight the psychological impact of segregation on black children. He asserted that the practice of segregation cultivated feelings of inferiority in these children, thereby affecting their motivation to learn. This line of argument was a groundbreaking approach, linking legal principles with psychological impacts to create a compelling case against segregation. Marshall's argument was simple yet powerful. Separate but equal is inherently unequal. This statement encapsulated the heart of his argument, stressing that segregation, by its very nature, creates inequality. Marshall's words reverberated through the courtroom, challenging the justices to reconsider the damaging effects of segregation on American society. And so, the stage was set for a landmark decision. A decision that would not only test the integrity of the American legal system, but also define the course of the nation's history. Marshall had thrown down the gauntlet, and now it was up to the Supreme Court to pick it up. May 17, 1954, marked a turning point in American history. The Supreme Court, in a landmark decision, unanimously ruled that state-sanctioned segregation of public schools was unconstitutional. This verdict was a direct challenge to the long-standing doctrine of separate but equal established by the Plessy v. Ferguson case in 1896. The Plessy v. Ferguson ruling had paved the way for racial segregation by maintaining that as long as the separate facilities for the separate races were equal, segregation did not violate the 14th Amendment. However, the stark reality was that facilities and conditions for Black Americans were vastly inferior. The Brown v. Board of Education case was a beacon of hope, a promise of change. The Supreme Court, led by Chief Justice Earl Warren, realized the profound psychological and systemic damage caused by segregation. The justices unanimously agreed that in the context of public education, the doctrine of separate but equal was inherently unequal. This ruling was not just about schools, it was about the very fabric of American society. It questioned the legal and moral grounds for segregation and discrimination based on race. It was a bold statement, a call for change, a call for equality. The Supreme Court's unanimous decision was a pivotal moment. It signaled the beginning of an end to an era of segregation, and it set the stage for the civil rights movement. It was a victory, not just for Linda Brown and the other plaintiffs, but for every American who believed in the ideals of equality and justice. The Brown v. Board of Education verdict didn't end racial discrimination overnight. However, it was a significant step towards dismantling the structures of systemic racism. It sent a clear message. Segregation was not just morally wrong, it was also legally unacceptable. The implications of this verdict were profound. It paved the way for further legal victories against racial segregation and discrimination. It was a testament to the power of ordinary citizens to bring about change and to the potential of the legal system to uphold justice. In the field of public education, the doctrine of separate but equal found itself with no place. The Supreme Court decision was just the beginning of a long journey towards equality. With these words echoing in our ears, we delve into the profound impact and ensuing aftermath of the landmark Brown v. Board of Education case. This monumental decision sent shockwaves through the nation. It challenged the status quo, shook the foundations of societal norms, and sparked a fierce debate. This was not just about schools anymore. It was about the very concept of equal rights under the law, a principle that forms the bedrock of American democracy. The ruling ignited a series of changes, most notably the dismantling of legalized segregation in public schools. Across the nation, doors that were once firmly closed started to creak open, offering a glimmer of hope and a taste of equality. But the path to desegregation was not a straight one. It was a winding road, fraught with resistance and strife. Beyond the schools, the case had a far-reaching influence. It served as a catalyst for the civil rights movement, inspiring many to raise their voices against racial discrimination. The Montgomery bus boycott, the March on Washington, the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Each of these pivotal moments in history can trace their roots back to the Brown ruling. Yet, it is crucial to acknowledge that the Brown decision was not a magic wand that instantly erased racial disparities. Far from it. The ruling was met with vehement resistance in many parts of the country. Some states flatly refused to comply, while others dragged their feet, implementing desegregation at a painfully slow pace. Moreover, the ruling did not erase the deep-seated prejudices and biases that had been ingrained in the American psyche for centuries. These prejudices continue to pervade various aspects of American life, from housing and employment to the criminal justice system. The fight against these systemic inequalities is ongoing. In the face of these challenges, the significance of the Brown v. Board of Education case remains undiminished. It marked a turning point, a moment when the nation was forced to confront its own contradictions. It was a declaration that the promise of equal protection under the law was not just empty rhetoric, but a principle worth striving for. The Brown v. Board of Education case was a giant leap towards equality, but the fight was far from over. It reminds us that progress is often slow and fraught with challenges, but it is through these struggles that we inch closer to realizing the ideals of justice and equality. So, what makes the Brown v. Board of Education case so monumental? It's the sheer audacity of change it sparked, the audacious challenge to a system that had been deeply ingrained in American society. It's the story of ordinary individuals like Linda Brown and her parents who dared to question the status quo and ignited a legal battle that would redefine the nation's understanding of equality. This landmark case started with the simple yet powerful notion that every child, regardless of their race, deserved equal access to education. Backed by the tenacity of Thurgood Marshall and the NAACP, they took this belief to the highest court in the land, challenging the very constitutionality of segregation. And they succeeded. The Supreme Court, in an unprecedented unanimous decision, ruled that state-sanctioned segregation in public schools was indeed unconstitutional. They overturned the long-standing doctrine of separate but equal, laid down by Plessy v. Ferguson, firmly stating that in the field of public education, this doctrine had no place. But the significance of Brown v. Board extends beyond legal precedents. It's a testament to the power of collective action, the importance of standing up against injustice, and the possibility of change. It's a reminder of the long, arduous journey towards equality, a journey that continues even today. This case didn't just alter the course of American education, it transformed the nation's social and political landscape. It paved the way for the civil rights movement, inspiring other landmark cases and legislation that further reinforced the principles of equal protection and non-discrimination. But perhaps most importantly, it's a story of hope. A story that shows us that even against the odds, change is possible, that ordinary individuals can make extraordinary differences, that injustices, once entrenched in law and society, can be uprooted. The Brown v. Board of Education case is not just a chapter in history, but a testament to the relentless pursuit of equality and justice. It's a legacy that continues to inspire, reminding us of the power of courage, conviction, and the undying human spirit.